English class this afternoon, and our topic today is writing task 2 and how to answer that question. I hope you have the handout that we're going to refer to, and we put together some notes on the things that are expected of you when you're answering the question in the writing task 2. Just very simply, the instructions for writing task 2, make sure you read the instructions carefully, decide how many parts there are to the questions and underline them, and decide what your view is on the topic. And this is really important. In writing task 2, you have to clearly state your opinion. Clearly state your opinion, clearly answer the questions. And then it's going to be very important to take about 5 minutes to think about the questions and then to prepare an outline to structure your response. So, second thing we need to work on is quickly think of ideas and write that plan. And for the writing task, your plan is an outline. And we need to decide how many paragraphs to write and what to put in each paragraph. And I think what's really important here too is decide what you want to put in your conclusion. So we think that writing task 2 can often be done with 5 paragraphs, 4 paragraphs, 5 paragraphs, maybe 6 paragraphs. But I think it's really important that when you're doing your outline, when you're planning your answer for writing task 2, that you have a conclusion. And am I allowed to ask questions now of the students? I'd like anyone to give us a response, and we're learning our technology as we go. Who thinks, what are the benefits? What's the advantage, do you think, of having a conclusion, writing a conclusion when you're doing your outline? Can someone think of a good reason why that will be helpful? What's the advantage of writing a conclusion when we're doing our outline? So we're just outlining now. We haven't written anything. Why is it a good idea to have your conclusion in your outline before you start to write? Do we have any responses? Okay. So, the reason to have your conclusion written in your outline is you have a goal. You know what your opinion is. That way, everything you write, everything you put into your response now is going to lead from your introduction to your conclusion. You can change this. If you think of something that changes that, you can make a change, but we want to emphasize that. We want you to decide what your conclusion is going to be and put that in your outline. And then another very important tip for everybody. Make sure that when you finish, you have about 4 or 5 minutes to read your response, because it's going to be really important that you find some obvious mistakes. Maybe you spelled a word wrong. Maybe you need to write something more clearly. Maybe your handwriting is a little bit sloppy. But you want to give yourself about 5 minutes before the end of the section to go back and review what you've written and check for your mistakes. So we want to turn your attention to, I know some of you did this as a homework assignment, and then others of you, I've written this on the board for you as well. But we have a writing task 2 question, and it's on the board. And for those of you who have it, please take this out. I know this was your homework assignment, but we want to work on this together. So, the topic is, some people say that tourism has many negative effects on the countries that people travel to. And the questions are, how true is this statement? And what can tourists do to reduce the harmful effects of tourism on local cultures and environments? So starting with our bullet points from our handout, let's go through each of these bullet points and see if we can come up with some ideas for each one. So, bullet point number 1, discuss all the questions in the task. Discuss all the questions in the task. I think we have 2 questions in this task. And again, I'm going to invite any participation here. If you're able to write, can someone give us an answer? What are the 2 questions that you need to answer in this task? What are the 2 questions that we need to answer? Mr. Munn? Ms. Fung? Mr. James, any ideas? What are the 2 questions that we need to answer? Are we getting any responses? Oh, I'm supposed to... Well, Mr. Jim is going to have a little time to learn all this. I'm not sure where I'm going to see the answers, but now that you've had a chance to think about it, but this should be pretty obvious. As a matter of fact, we'll just take out the red marker. The 2 questions, how true is this statement? Another way of saying that is, do you agree or disagree? And that's question number 1. And then there's a specific question, question number 2. What can tourists do to reduce the harmful effects of tourism on local cultures and environments? So those are our 2 questions. And usually on task 2, you're going to have 2 questions, and they'll be written very clearly for you. Next thing, we want to start by thinking of some examples. And the first one we want